From top-tier service to insider business moves, we dive right into real talk about college versus trade school and what it takes to build a thriving career. In this episode, we're diving into the world of Westerly Air. Pros who keep it cool no matter what.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team.
Hey guys, welcome to the Mo Money Podcast. We're excited about a new episode. We got a special guest with us today. Welcome to the Mo Money Podcast. Welcome to the studio. I know it's a little dark in here. It's a little romantic, but we like to keep it that way because it keeps the conversation flowing. So come along for the ride. It's going to be a great episode. We're excited about our guest today. Our guest comes from Westerly Air. At Westerly Air is a HVAC company here locally here in San Antonio, Texas. Here with us today is Booth. Booth.
Hey there. Nice to meet you.
So, Booth, tell us a little bit about Westerly Air, the road to HVAC. We want to know about, how you built your career and what kept, what kept you in the trades.
Sure. Appreciate the question. Well, this is my second career. I did not start out in the trades.
Okay.
I'm a child of the 80s, which means that we were all going to college. If you remember, I
was born in the 80s.
Okay, thanks. But it was, the focus was clearly that, hey, we're all going to college and this is going to be the thing and all this wonderful stuff's going to happen. And, it sounded fine. And in the past, college degrees were highly sought after and those individuals got good work. And it's like, we're going to continue that. We're going to expand that for more people, right? And for the most part, okay, you go to college. What we're seeing now, though, is how many college degrees are out there that are having trouble finding work.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when I was going through the system or the process, I landed on IT, information technology, computers. And in the 80s, when you were, still
a
baby, computers were like, whoa, what's this thing? And how do I do this? And I went through, from manufacturing computers to tech support. I ended up at IBM on contract work and helping develop software.
Okay.
And it was, I tell you what, it was a wild ride in the 90s. I mean, you were still
I was
running around. But
getting there.
Good there. So, so in the 90s, it was fun. And it was like the Wild West. And it's like, because we were, making our own laws, making our own rules. It was so new and fresh. Then the dot bombs occurred, 2001, and there was money being thrown at anybody. Oh, you have a website? Have money. Oh, you do this? Have money. And these people were just kind of riding high, but they really weren't investing and they weren't doing the job. Well, dot bombs come around, and now all of a sudden the IT tanks. And I was living in Austin at the time, and finding a job in IT was very difficult.
Okay.
And it got to the point where it just wasn't working out anymore. And I was like, I need to make a change. And the change was I had friends in Austin, and they were in the trades. They were doing various parts of construction. And I said, well, I have a family now. I need support. So I'm like, whatever, put me back to work. So I'm in my 30s and I'm going into this physical labor situation. And I was like, wow, what a change. But I'm going to tell you what, I never looked back. It was awesome. I had such fun learning various things about the construction industry, and it really helped me guide me where do I want to go, and interviewing guys and learning things. I was pouring concrete for a while, which is one of my all-time favorite, framing, roofing, doing stuff like that. Although I was not on the roof. I'm not allowed on the roof. I have 2 left feet. My center of gravity is low to higher than most people. I'm not allowed on the roof. But, it's just like, hey, it was fun. And then I realized that, hey, if I'm going to do long-term in this process, I need to get I figured, specialized technical skill. And I was like, I had 3 choices: plumbing, air conditioning, or electrical.
Mm-hmm.
Electrical is wonderful. There was a lot of school time before you can actually start doing the learning. Plumbing, not the sexiest trade.
No.
But it's a very good trade. And I highly encourage everybody. You want to be able to support a family, you want to make some good money, plumbing is your ticket. HVAC, well, in South Texas, that's also a good ticket.
That's right.
And it's not plumbing. So I decided that, hey, I'm going to focus into this air conditioning thing. And me being me, I said, you know what? I'm new to this game. I'm going to be interacting with people in the trades that have been there for 20 years. I was like, I need to be able to hang with these guys. So I took a lot of courses, a lot of learning. I went to St. Philip's College. I took continuing education courses, learning about like airflow and how this stuff works and thermodynamics, all this stuff. Because I'm thinking, I'm catching up to these guys, you know. And when I was all said and done, I didn't realize this. I was kind of surpassed a lot of these guys. I'm like, oh, okay. And that kind of led me into where I am now. And that is the more equipment technical specialist, understanding what's going on, but able to talk to other individuals and be with them and help them because I've got the knowledge and I understand what's going on.
That's awesome. That sounds like a path, right? I mean, that's absolutely amazing that we can come from, you know, going from the technical part and then becoming HVAC. That's incredible. What was the early construction job like in the late 2000s?
Well, it was rough. So there's a lot of learning. There's always something to be learned in life. And I think that's a lesson that everybody should understand. It doesn't matter what's happening, but there's always, if you observe it, you can see trends and understand things. So I was starting out with the concrete, working on the concrete, and we were pouring a lot of different things, doing a lot of stick framing. It was physical work, and it was hard. Fortunately, I was capable, and it was just a lot of interaction with the coworkers, and everybody was kind. We were a bunch of Texans. We're all helping each other out. What was an interesting aspect that happened in that early career is Hurricane Katrina. So I started pouring concrete and working in that type of trade probably around 2003, 4. Katrina hits, and that helped me appreciate that when these natural disasters or something happens, the costs go just totally wacky. And what we were doing before Katrina and then the cost of everything after, that I didn't realize at the time that was a training moment to understand that, hey, when costs go up, they go up, and guess what? They don't go back down.
Yeah.
And now the market is bearing higher costs because that's what the market is now bearing, right?
Yeah.
So I think that early on to understand that helps me appreciate that. Don't get so caught up over how much things are going or the trends there. It's never ending.
Yeah.
What can we do to make sure that everybody is getting the best value for the money they are spending?
Yeah.
And I think that was early on. It's a good lesson to learn.
Awesome. So I know being in HVAC, you get to meet a lot of people, you get to do a lot of things, you get to experience a lot of things. And sometimes, you know, just like in anything, there's something that's got to have a blooper, right? So any funny or humbling first day on the job stories that you're going to share?
Well, you know, there is a lot of stuff that just learning your way. I was thinking of one, and now I lost it. I have to come back to that one, but it'll get back to me. For me, it was, I have to know. And when I don't know, I feel kind of self-conscious and stuff. And so I kind of start, you know, and it comes out in my demeanor. So it's like, hey, if I know what I'm doing, I get that confidence. And so there's a lot of that learning early on, you know, again, you know. But yeah, I'll think of some. I mean, there's funny things that's happened. I mean, other than like a foot through the ceiling, that's the blue.
You know, I mean, you guys are always in the attic, right? I mean, that's for majority of the time that you're going to spend is in the attic, right?
Yeah.
That's where the HVAC lives, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that you're going to see, you know, I'm sure people that are in that industry are not into pests, right? Because I mean, you may see some stuff that we don't see that's up there, you know.
Oh, yeah, the critters.
Yeah.
I was in the job we're doing an install, and this was a very unusual home for South Texas in San Antonio, and there was a crawl space, but I could stand up in it. I'm 6'5".
Yeah.
And I could actually stand up. So there was a big space under this house, and the unit was up in the first, it was one story on the closet, and everything ran underneath to the outside. And so I went in there and I'm looking around, you know, and I'm like, okay, here's this. We got to run new lines, and I got it all worked out. So the installers go there one day, and they call me, and they're like, there's a raccoon in here. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, it's staring right at me. And I'm like, okay, I'm not working in here. I'm like, guys, it's just a raccoon, you know? And I had to halt the project, you know? I was like, going in there, and a homeowner had to go and get an exterminator and relocate. We didn't kill it. You know, relocated all this. And I'm just like, seriously, guys? It's like, you know, we're...
Look at your side, look at the raccoon. This should be scary.
If he's not, I mean, give him a tool. They have hands, right? It's like, come on, what are you talking about? A raccoon, he's staring right at me. I'm like, is he frothing at the mouth? No. I'm like, he's probably okay. He's just, you know, you're going to teach him something. Raccoons, you can never trust, you know. I don't. It was just, you know, so there's been a few things like that. Raccoons are not friends to air conditioning, by the way.
Oh, they're not? Okay. Well, that's good to know. I mean, unfortunately, you don't want any critters in your attic space at all because, you know, you got ventilation flowing everywhere in that house.
You do, and they're going for the water. With you know, there's the drain pan under the unit. There's condensation happening. There's one of the copper lines is condensing, and they can smell the water. And they're going for the water.
Got it.
And that's really their deal. And if you make it easy access, or if you're not careful, then you know, squirrels. Of course, you know.
I never understood why. I mean, I just figured that they just did that because they wanted to burrow us home and keep warm. But I mean, we're talking summertime.
They're looking for water.
It makes sense.
Yeah, especially now they have 5 years of drought. Yay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So because you mentioned earlier being at St. Philip's, so what stood out during your training at St. Philip's or your early mentorships? What really stood out the most being there?
I think when it comes to trade school and gaining the knowledge, I think there's any real creditable place is going to be good. I like St. Philip's because it was a community college, right, from a San Antonio college system, and the instructors were individuals that were in the industry, and now they're teaching the next generation. I had some experience. I think the best thing that I had was I went to St. Philip's after I was actually working with the company for a while and in the field and seeing things, so that when I went to the classes, I had a familiarity. I knew what was going on. I knew what they were talking about, and I wasn't trying to learn new things right off the bat. Yeah. So I was able to really focus on more of the technical stuff. The instructors were good. I had one instructor. He was a retired Air Force technician, and that guy was incredible. He was the controls class. And I think that that's a really important skill for air conditioning is the controls, understanding the circuitry, the electric portions of all of this, low voltage, high voltage. We'll probably talk about more later, but air conditioning, I feel, is probably the most scientific of all the trades because we deal with everything. You know, we have plumbing, we have electrical, and of course we're doing funny things with the environment. Yeah. And so being able to go there and gain that knowledge, I felt St. Philip's has a really good trade school program, and I'm always about that. And I've been telling teenagers and young kids that I see is like, have you thought about the trades? I mean, you've got, you know, what skills are you planning on? And the trades are a good path.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. So we're going to talk about the art of comfort advisor, right? So helping homeowners beyond just the hardware, right? So what does a comfort and equipment specialist actually do?
Well, that's a really good question. When you go into an individual's home, when it comes down to me, there's usually some pain. They're probably not super happy to see me up front because they know what I was tolling, right? So what we're trying to do as an advisor is work with that homeowner to come to a good and clear decision of a solution that fits for the family. What I need to take into account is I need to know the build of the house, right? How old is it? When was it built? Because different construction methods have developed over the years. Mm-hmm. So when I walk into a house that was built in the 50s is different than when it was in the 70s or 80s, which is a bit different than a modern home. And they all have different temperature characteristics. And so knowing those things, it's important to know, hey, I'm going to walk into this house and here's what the insulation of the walls are like. My windows are probably, single pane or whatever. And those all factor into what we call the heat load of how much heat is the house bringing in that I need to eliminate. That's what air conditioners for, is to reduce that heat. And knowing that construction methodology and how those things are put together, then we do the load calc, and it all comes down to here's the load for this house. And I'm measuring windows, walls, ceilings, square footage, 2-story, all these things all put together.
It's a formula.
It's a formula, and it's all computerized. I have a tablet, or I go back, depending on the house, I go back to the office and I lay it out. And then the program's telling me things, and I can tell the program, which way is north. It's a big deal. I went into a house the other day, and I was in the house and it was uncomfortable. It's like, wow, there's something wrong with the house. And the guy's like, well, everybody's saying the system's working right. And what turned out, I did the load, I measured up. The system was too small. And it was a production home, which means that this home has been built many times throughout the city. And at some point, this house was probably a 4-ton load, but for them, it was a 5. And it's as easy as where's north.
Wow.
Pivot the house, and all of a audden, you've got a whole ton worth of air you need.
Isn't that crazy?
And so we had to change that. And that's what a comfort advisor is there for, is to make sure that, hey, we're getting the proper unit size and capability. And then you got what kind of system you want, right? You got your basic system, but then there's an advanced technology and new things that have come into the marketplace. And it's like, are you interested? Do we want to talk about that? And so there's a lot of ways and methods to do this. The equipment specialist, that comes to, is it going to fit? What's the deal? There's sizes, and you got your closet, attic access. Now I need to know, what am I proposing to put in there, and will that work for the house? So I got to know what the house needs, and I got to know what will fit for that. So combine those together, and then we now have a solution that we can lay out. And I like to give options. I tell people, this isn't AC by communism. I'm not going to tell you the system you're buying. I'm going to tell you what's available and which one do you like, which one is going to fit for you. And that's going to be the difference between a salesperson versus an advisor / consultant / specialist.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that I do that. Yes, when it's all said and done, I'm selling a system, but I'm not a salesman.
Yeah. You're there to educate them.
Yeah.
Make them get an educated decision.
Yes.
Got it. So what's the biggest mistake homeowners make when they buy an AC system? Like, I'm not saying, because right now, you just said hey, there's salespeople and then there's advisors, right? But as a homeowner, what are the biggest mistakes that they can make buying one?
Well, it's every house is different, right? And so I think understanding that this is a complicated process, this is not easy, this is not normal. There's no other product that I can think of that a homeowner is going to buy that is as complicated as an air conditioner.
Correct.
You need to make a decision, but you need to, weigh those factors. There's the obvious one is you have to have a budget. And going into it, the budget is. And if I'm going to go into the house, tell me the budget. I'm not going to be like, I'm going to put he tells me this amount, I'm going to put a system in that. I know what my systems cost, but I have 20 different options.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you 20 options. Tell me where you want to be in that. So really, don't be afraid to talk to someone about what the budget's going to be. Okay. Because that's just going to help guide me to make sure that we're getting good options. I feel like that's always something that's been hard. When a customer has additional companies come, and that's fine. The traditional 3 bids. That's an old government style contract. That's fine. And if I'm not the first one, then they kind of already know what's going on, and I can kind of help get that out better because they already know the Band-Aid's already been ripped off.
Yeah.
But I always felt also the 3 bid thing, that can also be a trap, because you feel like, I need to take 3 bids. I need to take 3 bids. But really what you need to do is, what company do I like? Of all the guys that have come out here, which one has treated me with respect and dignity, has been informative, educational? Did I get along with them? Am I okay with the price that they quoted? I think that's what, then go with your gut, don't go be like, I have to get, more bids. I have to get more bids. And then you're paralyzed with indecision.
Yeah.
It got too many bids.
And I got too much information.
I got too much, right, exactly.
I feel 100%. I agree with you 100%. So what does a home performance mean? So why should regular folks care?
Well, home performance is like your house in whole. So in building science, it's called the building envelope. And that is, how does the entire house run and perform? And that's with doors, windows, you've got, plumbing, electrical, all that stuff is good. We care about is air conditioning, is how well do all the parts work together to make sure that you're comfortable in your home.
Okay.
And are you spending the right amount of money towards your utility? So when you think about performance, is your system performing that is making you comfortable? but yet your bills are also manageable. And the only way to really get that together is to, you got to look at the whole house and do that. And it all leads back to that comfort specialist, is making sure that, hey, this is going to be good for you.
Awesome. So what separates a good install from a great one?
I think that there's a few things. We have to appreciate that, unfortunately, there's a lot of not even good installs. Right. So getting a good install is a step up. But what we do at Westerly Air and what we're concerned about is, we want the absolute best install that we possibly can do. First of all, it means time. The installing company, the installers are taking the time to do every step properly. And some of the people who come in and we're done. It's like, you've got 5 more hours left for the day. What did you not do? And that's going to be something that's you need to be watching out for. But a great install is a company that understands and appreciates that the system is still under construction. So one of the things I mentioned earlier, that AC is unlike any other product. You need a TV, you go to wherever you like to buy your TVs, you pick it off the shelf. Maybe you have them delivered and it's on the wall and it's plugged in. Mm-hmm. Or you need an appliance, right? The refrigerator goes out, the new one comes in. Air conditioning isn't that way. Air conditioning hasn't finished, completed the manufacturing process. An air conditioner at the factory, those are components being put together, but it's not a complete system. It hasn't been finished in its installation. That's where we come in. We are the final leg of the manufacturing process for air conditioning, because we're assembling it on site.
Okay.
Every house is different, and we have to assemble every unit on site.
Makes sense.
Right? And so a lot of the trap a lot of people get into is like, well, how hard can it be? I'll buy appliances and I've done this and that. It's like, but it's not just, here's the box, plug it in.
Yeah.
We're actually putting them together. We're welding. We're wiring in, and then that's just setting the equipment. Now you got to actually do other things. I don't want to get too technical and bore it.
Programming and all that.
Yeah, but there's evacuation. There's making sure that the welds hold. You have to make sure that it gets down to a certain level that's called a micron, and it has to go down. It's like pulling a vacuum, and it has to hold that. I mean, there's all these things going into the installation of that unit. Because what we want to make sure is that unit has the best chance to do the job for at least, I mean, I would go for 15 years, but on average, it's 12 to 15 years on a basic system. Nice. If you have a heat pump, that's going to be 10 to 12. That's what we want. And in South Texas, our air conditioners, they get worked hard. Oh, they are always on, right?
I mean, we get summer and 10 months out of the year.
Oh, yeah, 10 months out of the year. Sometimes it's been 12, right? Yeah. And winter is once winter. Winter is your furnace about 2 weeks out of the year, and they're not even current days, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that our systems are going to be put through so much strain and trauma, that install is the most important day of the life of that AC. If you do a great install, then you'll have regular maintenance things, and the system will last that good, at least 15 years.
It's just like a vehicle, man. You just got to make sure that you maintain it.
You have to.
Oil changes.
Oh, yeah.
Oil changes are needed. Air filters change out. Air filters. I mean, yeah. It's just the maintenance.
Exactly.
Maintenance is very important in anything.
It's a mechanical device.
Yeah.
There's moving parts.
Yeah.
They have to, that all requires maintenance.
Just like us, we get old.
Yeah.
What do you mean
we get old?
I mean, I get old.
I've heard of the 80s.
Yeah. I flew through them. Since we're having fun, let's do something fun here, all right? So we like to do what's called the fun lightning round questions, right? So fun lightning round questions for energy and clips. So, ready?
Okay.
Here we go. Weirdest thing that you found inside a return bin?
The back of the return was a door to a little grow house area that the homeowner didn't realize her son was doing as a side job.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you had a
nice setup.
Street pharmacy.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like that. It was before all of the dispensaries.
Nice. Yeah, the little dispensary.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. I was talking with one of my mentors. He was telling me the story. He found a 911 in the attic.
Really?
A Porsche 911.
What?
It was in pieces. 18,000 pieces were in the attic.
That's wild.
Yeah. So you're talking about hoarders. I don't know.
The time to pick that up there.
I don't know. Exactly. Nobody was going to steal it. I'll tell you that.
I see that, man. All right, here we go. If your HVAC career was a movie, what's the title?
Days of our AC line. There's so much soap opera drama in this business. I'm going to tell you. It's like, I always tell people, we should write a book. Seriously, we should write a book and get picked up for TV.
That's awesome. So most underrated part of an AC system.
Most underrated part of the AC system. The filter.
It's true. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I and as a homeowner myself, we get busy, right? We get busy with life. We got kids. They got basketball practice, football practice, cheer practice, and life just itself happens. And we always forget to do one thing.
Right.
And that's probably one of the most important things.
It's very important.
I've heard you say it over and over, just in different conversations that I've had with you in the past, to say filter changes, especially like in the summertime.
Oh, yeah.
Filter changes are very important. I plead guilty because I have not yet changed my filters in the last probably 2 or 3 months. So
I can help you with that.
and I know you can. Slap me across the back of that. No, but I mean that's very important. I agree with you 100%. Filter changes are very underrated, but that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, and we all know our San Antonio weather, and I think Sahara dust is just about in again. And there's so many things in our air, and that pollen and the dust and the particulates in our air, generally speaking, we know how it affects us. It's going to hurt the AC too over time. And so changing that filter is important, but you don't want to let the filter last too long either, because then that puts strain on the motors and stuff on the unit. So regular filter changes. And
you hear that, folks?
Regular. Here's the rule of thumb. Now, you ready? I know it's going to go counter than what you read on the paperwork. 1-inch filters are a 1-month filter. So don't believe the hype. If you're in there for 3 months, it's too long. And if you have those high quality filters, that's the heck bad, and that's a 1-inch. You know how dense those filters are, and your system's trying to pull through there.
2 weeks.
I tell you what, they're actually not that great. I think just go buy a box of filters and put it on the phone. I don't have mine out. Put it on the phone. There's have the nifty little reminder once a month goes off. And then you have someone in the house who should be able to change the filter for you. It takes 3 seconds.
That's awesome. Okay.
The hot summertime heat is here, so call Westerly Air to keep you cool. Call us now for fast 24/7 service and our $79 system checkup. We feature the best quality equipment and flexible financing options, including 0% financing. Ready to ride into comfort with reliable service you can trust? Turn to Westerly Air, a proud family-owned company. We're here for you 24/7. Ready to ensure your comfort. Day or night, we'll make it right.
So, one life lesson HVAC has taught you.
Life is hard enough. Don't make it any harder for yourself. Do a good job. Do it right. Do it right the first time. It will be the most time saving you can have, is take that extra 5 minutes to do what you know you should have done, so you don't spend the next 3 hours of another day figuring out that you should have spent that extra 5 minutes.
That was free, by the way. Booth is giving away information for free.
That's true, man. Everything. I knew this IDC, right?
Life in general. So, where would you take a dream vacation if it means sweating out with no AC?
Well, my mother is a travel agent. I grew up with a travel agent parent, which means that I've been quite around the world. I've seen a lot of things already, so it's hard to pick a dream vacation, but one place I have never been that I think I would like to go would probably be South Pacific.
Nice.
Bali, Tahiti. Although I don't want to be on that ferry that just tipped over in Bali, but the South Pacific, and I think
so. Fiji, Bora Bora, something like that.
Yeah, something like that, because you don't really need AC down there.
Nah,
that's all. Nice.
Pacific Ocean is pretty good yourself. That's awesome. All right, cool. So the truth about trades, right? So why skilled labor matters more than ever. So why do you think fewer young people, I can say that I'm young, I guess. So why do you think fewer young people are entering trades like HVAC?
I mean, this goes back to my teenagehood as well. It's just that there was a lot of shaming for physical manual labor. And it got to the point where it's like, oh, you work with your hands, or oh, you're only a type deal, and oh, you didn't go to it's just I think that concept of if you didn't go to college, then you really aren't amounting to anything. I think that's not really a good, healthy outlook. And there should be no one ashamed doing hard, honest work.
No.
And that's just what it comes down to. Now, the type of work we do may be different in this generation than it was in the past. I get that. But there's still work is work.
Yeah.
And you should be proud of what you do. And I think, and we're seeing a big turnaround now, finally, in the last year or two or so, that these older institutions like school and other things are coming back through, that they're realizing that they might have taken a misstep, and they're encouraging students to look into the trades. But I think it was really a lot of hey, you work with your hands. It's it's a shame, and it's like there should be no shame.
Nah.
I read an article just yesterday. I was really encouraged, and it had numbers. I don't know where the data came from, but it showed 56% of Gen Z teenagers and young Gen Zers are going to work blue collar work again, and the main reason why is because these jobs are not going to be taken over by AI.
True.
And I think that's a good point too.
Yeah. I mean, you can't have a robot fix your AC.
I think I've seen some. They
can manufacture it, but they can't
just
fix
doing
it.
the motions.
Right.
But yeah, no, honestly though, no, absolutely. AI is a wonderful tool.
Yeah, it is for sure.
And, and to diagnose something, especially in the trades like an AC, hey, I've seen some AI tools that have been pretty encouraging, because if you get stumped.
Yeah.
If you throw in some data and you get a spit out of, have you checked this or that? It's like, oh, okay. But the AI is not going to be able to check that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where you as the technician comes in. The AI is just as tool as like a screwdriver in your tool bag.
Sure. Because you mentioned students, right? So what do you wish more parents or schools would teach about trade careers?
Well, I think that they need to appreciate that when you talk to your child, you want them to succeed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a child, you have children. I mean, everybody has children. They're trying to make them succeed. And I think that there is success to be had in the trades. So if you want to have your children succeed, yes, some of them may be cut out for college, or some of them may have a direct line and know exactly what they want to do. Because let's face it, we need engineers. We're going to need doctors, right? There are things that college absolutely is necessary. But is everyone on the track to be a doctor, or are they on the track to be engineers? I mean, not everybody's, that's not where they want. That's fine. So find out what your child has got an aptitude for and encourage that.
Awesome. So how is working with your hands change your outlook in life?
Well, you get satisfaction. You can point to something and know and say, I did that. Right. So going back to my IT career, IBM, I was working in one of the things was called SVT, System Verification Test. And so every week we would get a new build of whatever software. Usually it was a interface and or whatever app. They call apps now. We called them programs back then. Homeless said programs.
Is that right, Jay?
App is a program. So an application is a program. We would test that, and every week would go, and then we would find defects and write up reports, and they would go back in and the programmers would fix it, and then you retest it, and you go through, and then it comes for release. And it actually was kind of interesting when we released software back in the 80s and 90s. You actually bought it, you owed it. I know it sounds weird.
Wow.
And so the thing I was telling my wife is like, the cool thing about this job is it's a fun job and I enjoy doing it. We're having a great time, but I can't really point to anything. I can't say I did that. Some bank is using this program. What do I care, right? That doesn't mean anything to me. You go into something working with your hands and you build something or you fix something and you can point to it and say,
I did that.
I did that.
Yeah.
And that's a sense of pride. And again, you should be. And there are houses in San Antonio that were absolutely broken. And I didn't say broken in that they were not comfortable. The AC that was there before did not work right. And I fixed that. That's a point of pride. And I can drive around the city and I say, you see the house there? And I can tell you what happened in that house and how I fixed it.
That's awesome.
With my designs. And I think that's the most satisfying thing about the trades.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about real talk for homeowners. This is our audience here. So what people need to know before they panic over their AC, All right, because I'm talking to you guys there that using like a friend helping a friend, right? Like a friend helping a friend. How can I tell if something's really wrong with my system?
That's a good question. And many times you can't tell there's something wrong with your system, right? There's the obvious ones. Water's pooling somewhere coming out, right? The thermostat is blank. It's hot in my house. There's no air blowing in my house, right? Those are obvious ones. There's something wrong, right? But the system can be operational, but not working properly. And that's the point that's you don't know. And we wouldn't know that much either. That's where the regular maintenance schedule comes into play. Because when we go into a home doing a maintenance check, we're going to be testing components. There's electrical components. We're going to be flushing the drain line. We're going to be doing stuff so that, the water keeps flowing. We're going to be looking at temperatures. There's a lot going on there. And then when we're looking, for example, at the electrical components, they have a certain range that they need to be in. And sometimes they're out of range, but that doesn't mean they're not working, though. They're still producing the current and the system runs. But if they're out of range, now we know this component's about to fail because it's not where it needs to be. And now's the time to change that before it goes out, because that's what's going to happen next. The next big hot day or big bad severe weather day, sucker's going to pop. And now you're not going to have air, and you're going to call me, my thermostat's blank. It's hot in my house. Right? And we're going to fix that ahead of time.
Yeah.
By knowing these things.
Just listening to you kind of seems like us as human beings, we got to go see our doctor regularly, right? Because we can feel that we're okay. And, you may not know it, but we may have high blood pressure.
Right.
You can have high sugar levels, but, you're paying insurance already, right? This is for you guys. This is free, by the way. I'm helping Westerly out here, right? So just like us, we go to the doctor routinely to check ourselves and make sure that we're okay. Just like the HVAC system, the maintenance is there to make sure that your AC is working properly. Now, you spend money on insurance already.
Right.
Why not spend it on maintenance, right? Because preventive maintenance is the best way to go.
It is. And when I talk to the younger technicians, that's part of my training, because that's something that I do for Westerly and I've done in previous companies, is train the younger generation. And I tell them, guys, we're like the doctors.
Yeah.
When it comes to this system. And we are doing that. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's because we have the knowledge and the skills and the understanding of how to read these things, and we can diagnose that, hey, this system is not doing well for X reason, right? And that's what a truly skilled technician can do.
Yeah.
And that's what and it requires constant training and reviewing. And that's, again, the technician becomes a senior technician over time because they are making effort in their own career doing these things. And I take pride in what you do, guys.
Yeah.
We are the only people who can help families on a day-to-day basis. What other job is there where you can walk into somebody and change their life for the better?
Yeah.
Very few professions do that.
Yeah.
And we're one of them.
That's awesome. So why do so many companies push replacements instead of repairs?
Well,
not saying that you do that, but
no, and I know where you're coming from on that, and it's a true statement. The first step is we got to make sure what's wrong with the system, and then replacement comes into the picture. Okay, but as a rule of thumb, there's some things that you can kind of get an idea. We had already mentioned that on a heat pump system, it's a 10 to 12 year life cycle, and then on traditional gas furnace style AC systems, that's 12 to 15. So when we walk into a house and the system's already older than 10 years old, that's a flag. Okay. The system is coming up to replacement point. Not that it should, because we don't know yet, but maybe we should have, that's going to be in the mix. And at some point, we're going to realize that maybe it's more cost effective, or it's better for the system to be replaced. Now, if someone walks into the house and immediately sees, oh, this is a 14-year-old system, you need a new system, and they didn't even crack anything open, see, that's not right. You need to do the job and understand what's happening with that system, and then that way the homeowner can make the decision, do I go with a repair, or do I go and talk to a replacement, and then maybe do the repair? or did a replacement, right? There's so much going on there. But you're doing a disservice to your homeowner if you don't take those steps. Going straight to the replacement, there's revenue there. We want to do that. And there's companies out there for reasons that are pushing that. I think we may talk about that in a few minutes, but we'll put a pin in that one. But I think that all systems that are at a certain age should at least be discussed.
Yeah, for sure. I get it. So why is HVAC so expensive now? Is it parts? Is it labor? Is it marketing? Does it all play a factor?
It all plays a factor.
Okay.
So remember we talked about how market trends happen and prices go up. And then once they go up for whatever reason it may be, they don't really go back down. So we've seen a large growth in the last 5 years. And we all know what happened in 2020. We don't need to beat that horse. But that really kind of started a trend at the manufacturing level with either supply shortages and skilled labor leaving, not coming back, and all that stuff, all that plays no part. The government has a few things. I mean, they changed regulations for efficiencies in 2023 that caused a massive retooling on everybody's factory line that costs money. There's a new refrigerant out now that, again, the government's saying that we need to start using, and so that's a factor. So really, what it comes down to is air conditioning is expensive, but we can manage that.
Yeah.
And you manage it through different options, different levels of AC, and just doing the right job at every house.
Got it. So do I really need to because again, I'm not an AC expert by all means. So do I really need yearly maintenance, monthly maintenance, or is it overkill?
Yeah, no. So we already talked about the filters. So if you have that 1-inch filter, that's your monthly maintenance. That's the best and first line of defense every homeowner has the ability to do for themselves.
Okay.
Change that filter.
Okay.
At that point, we like to do a 2-year or twice a year maintenance. So we come in and make sure the cooling side is working. And then at some point, we like to make sure that the heating side is working. Okay. And each side is different. So you're testing different components depending on the system. And that's why we like 2 a year, because we heat and we cool. No, we don't heat that much, but it's mostly cooling.
Yeah.
And those are, and that way we're ready. Gas furnaces, there's a health and safety factor here, right? Because you've got your flue gases, you've got carbon monoxide being developed in the case. And so that's a safety feature you want to have checked every year,
for sure,
which is why we push that. Heat pumps, they are a different way of heating and cooling your home. Heat pumps got a lot of bad rep early on because of the way they work. Well, they've improved immensely. And a modern heat pump is a very good box. But the main thing about a heat pump is it's using that refrigeration cycle to take or remove heat or bring heat in. So that compressor is always running. It's year round. That's why their life is a little bit shorter. And we got to make sure that those components are working. So really, twice a year for us to come in.
Okay. So what's one myth about ACs that drive you nuts?
I had a good answer for this one too. Then I forgot it. I think that it's the myth.
I mean, is it big? Is it by saying big? Oh, bigger is better.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. That's
you know what I'm saying? Because
okay.
I mean, I don't know the tonnage. I mean, I wish I was a pro like you and say, hey, no, you make a 6-ton and there's one part half.
Right. So to Texas, everything is bigger.
Correct.
And bigger is better.
That's right.
Not so much true in the AC world.
Got it.
Okay. Bigger is not always better. The other myth is, how to size the system. A lot of the older guys, you'll hear 400 square feet per ton. Okay, well, if the house was built in a certain period of time with certain materials and you made no improvements to the house, okay, maybe 400 square foot per ton would work, but that's not true. And that's where that load count comes in. We actually have to identify what that load is. So bigger in the air conditioning world, if you're too big, you're going to have a problem with humidity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so an air conditioner is doing two things for us in San Antonio. Again, this is also regional, right? What I'm talking about is nothing to do up north. It has nothing to do if you're in the southwest desert. Okay, San Antonio. We're in the coastal plains. If you look at the map of Texas, we are still considered coastal. We have high humidity, we have high heat. Okay, we get the best of both worlds. When we condition a home, meaning we're making it comfortable, not making it cold, we're making it comfortable. Conditioning the air is removing heat and humidity. Okay, so the system has to run to cool the air down, extracting the heat. When the system is on, it's also dehumidifying. And that's the only chance I have through an air conditioner to remove moisture from the air. It has to be on. So if you're oversized or too big, the system will start what we call overcycling. It'll turn on and cool that air fast because it's got a lot of power. But it cools the air down so fast, it's already turning back off again. It didn't have enough run time to remove moisture. So now you find yourself in a house that's, might be super cold, but it's also super humid. And now you're like in a wet, dank area. And that's not good for anybody.
No.
So a properly sized system removes that heat and humidity kind of at a balanced method. And newer technologies do it even better, which is why we talk about that, because there's a better way to dry your house out now. And you get that good balance where you have the runtime and the humidity extraction. Because that's what matters to us in our area of Texas.
It's awesome. So Westerly Air in the San Antonio market, right? What's happening locally and why it matters. So what makes Westerly Air different from some of these massive corporate-owned HVAC companies here in San Antonio?
Well, the biggest difference is some of these massively corporate-owned air conditioners in San Antonio are not headquartered in San Antonio. They don't. Their corporate presence is in another state. I know of some companies, they're actually in another country.
Wow.
Okay. So what do they know about us in San Antonio is the question, right? They don't know anything. Now, they're relying on local talent to get the job done, but they have a whole different marching set of rules to do when they're in that level of business, right? Westerly Air is a locally owned and family-owned, locally operated company. We all live here. I'm from here. My family goes way back in Texas before the revolution. And our service managers, same way. David Mosley and Christina Mosley, they're from here. We're all Texans. And so we've come up with the idea of Texans serving Texans. That's our focus. That's what we want to tell people. We're here. We know what you're going through, and we're here to take care of you. And so our focus is what's right for the customer, and let's do that, and let's make sure that we're doing the job that they expect us, and they have a right to.
Yeah.
And so we built a company. We feel that, hey, let's build a company that we would be happy and trust to send to our grandmother's house.
There you go.
Right? Because that's always the key, right?
For sure.
It's abuelita or whatever you want to say.
You crazy tia.
Whoever, right? That's for a different get it out of that one. But yeah, and that's who we are. We're down to earth, and hey, let's do the right thing, because doing the right thing always pays.
For sure, karma. I believe in karma too. I mean, you just gotta make sure that that's taken care of. So, what has shift out of state ownership meant for? I mean, what has this shift to out-of-state ownership meant for the San Antonio AC industry?
Okay, well, that's a tough question in the sense that it's hard to hear sometimes. There have been a lot of companies in the recent 5 years that have sold out to, I say sold out, they have sold their interests to this larger private equity type group. Private equity is, we all kind of heard the words. It's a group of investors, and they want to make money. Mm-hmm. And so they're investing in whatever they're buying for a return. And so when you have a company, especially some of these, trusted family-owned companies, and they built a reputation, well, when that new company is there, all of that is gone.
Yeah.
Right? There's no more family-owned business, and that trusted reputation doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Because now that corporate entity or that investing entity has very specific goals, and that is primarily, we need to make the investors money.
Yeah.
Now, who loses in that formula? And that's the rest of us, right? The homeowner loses because now they have technicians who are just a number to the company they work for. And that means the homeowner is now just a number to that company. And they're all focusing on how can we extract the largest amount of dollars for the quickest payback of this large investment we just made. And we see there's a lot of companies, about 7 of them in the last 5 years, that have undergone those changes. The names are still the same, but you don't know that unless you ask or unless you're in the know. One of the largest San Antonio locally owned company just got bought out 2 weeks ago by a company that's in Louisiana.
Wow.
I'm not going to say any names, but
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably figure it out. And that's sad because this was a family operation in town. And that, the first thing that they usually do, senior technicians get laid off.
Wow.
So now you lose your technical strength and your talent. The guys who are there for doing the job and being able to back up the younger, inexperienced technicians. So there's no one to call, right? If you're all inexperienced technicians, who do you call for help?
Wow.
Right. So you're losing a lot. There's a lot to be said, and I can go on any further. I don't want to berate the situation. If you're concerned, so where's home base, right? Where's your offices at?
Sure.
And we say, just like anything else, don't buy a roof from a company not from town. You should love to get your AC serviced by a company in town.
For sure. 100%.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, why does local knowledge matter when you're cooling a Texas home?
Well, because we're on the coastal plain. So I've had these discussions with other people. It's interesting. And it's interesting for me to hear how other people run their air conditioners or their heaters, because the majority of America is actually a heating continent. Cooling is really a South and Southwest and Florida deal. So we have humidity, and our air conditioners, in order to run properly, to extract that heat and humidity, it has to be tuned a certain way. They could care less in the desert Southwest about humidity, right? They're adding moisture and humidity to their air because they're too dry.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a totally different focus. So being able to understand what we're about and how our systems operate here is a plus. And one of the other big things that we see in our construction, we don't do basements as a general rule. Now, yes, sure, downtown San Antonio, Willis Park, and Monte Vista, there's some houses that have crawl spaces and some have basements, but that's not the norm. Our houses are monolithic foundation. Everything we do is in the attic.
Yeah.
Ductwork's in the attic, systems in the attic. It may be in a closet, but it's all in the attic. That is different than most every other place around in the U.S. as well.
Yeah.
And so knowing these things and knowing the factors that impact a properly running system is going to be important.
Got it. So where's Bruce headed next? All right. So growth, passion, and what's keeping him in the game. So what part of your job still gets you excited after all these years? Well,
I don't want to sound cheesy, but I'm going to sound cheesy. I'm seriously, when I visit homeowners, when I talk to customers in their home, I mean, I'm an extrovert. You probably haven't figured this out yet.
No, not yet.
So I've known it for all my life. I have to be the center of attention, and I have to be the one that everyone's looking at. So I really enjoy sitting down and having like this discussion with a homeowner. And we're all over the board. I mean, we're there for AC. And so I got to be careful that I don't overstay my welcome. But, I'm looking around, we're talking about, whatever the animals or, whatever their interests are. People decorate their homes. I got something to say about everything. So I just love sitting down there, having a good time, making the customer at ease, because it's a scary process. Yeah. One of the things that most people don't realize is that they've never bought an AC before.
Correct.
I'm going to say 90 to probably 94% of all my customers are first-time AC buyers. Everybody's bought a car. You've even bought more houses than you have an AC. Everybody's bought furniture, right? Nobody buys an AC. What's going to happen? Oh my gosh, what are they going to do to me, right? And so just put them at ease and do the job. And when I'm able to sit down and have a wonderful conversation of just about, hey, here's the deal, and coming to an agreement and understanding, hey, we're making the best choice for you, and they decide and we're ready to go, and we get that job done, and a smile on their face, and we allay a lot of fears. But that's why I keep going to the next house.
Yeah,
is because of that. No, it's fun.
Awesome. So what's one personal goal that you still have with HVAC, with the HVAC world?
My personal goal, and I've been able to start realizing it at Westerly Air, is that I'm wanting to give the next generation some advantages that I had to earn on my own. I had some mentors and they helped me. It's time for me to pass that on. And so I want to help the younger generation, beginner techs or senior technicians, everybody, and just, hey, here's better ways to communicate and be able to talk and, what we're after. And, because it's a little known fact that technicians love to fix things. They will fix anything.
Yeah.
They really probably don't want to talk to you too much.
No.
That's not their deal.
No.
Right? That's why I'm here. I'll talk to you. Let them do their job. But being able to help someone, hey, at least, here's how you want to approach this or that, whatever else, and really kind of get that communication skills, which is always going to be important. I know we've kind of had a little hiccup in our communication process and learning that in these last generations, but it's still a skill that we need to have, and being able to talk to others and help that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about the next generation. So what do you hope to teach the next generation of techs?
Well, good, effective communication skills and how to be empathetic and understand whoever it is that you're interacting with, because again, these skills transcend just air conditioning, right? This is just life, You can't always be texting your discussion with people. There's going to have to be face to face, and in this business, for sure.
Again, AI is not going to be there all the time. I mean, AI is there, but it's not going to do what
exactly
we do.
Right, exactly right. Yeah, and so being able to help that, and that's fine. And being having that focus, that public speaking, all of that stuff, all comes into play, and it's just, hey, if it's a skill that you may not have had a chance to develop, you can develop it with us.
Yeah,
we'll take care of it.
Awesome. Well, I know time flies when we're having fun, right? Because it feels like we've only been here for 10 minutes.
I know, right?
We've been on for almost about an hour. So,
oh my goodness.
So we're going to talk real quick about this ride into comfort. So we want to let our listeners know what ride into comfort is and how it can benefit you as a homeowner. So you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So if you haven't figured it out yet, Westerly Air is taking the cowboy theme as our focus, because everybody knows about the West and, get her done type mentality. And that's what we want to do. And of course, we're always Texans. And so Westerly Air has the Ride into Comfort program. And this is a maintenance schedule that we have. We talked about it already. We have two plans on here. We call them the Trailblazer and Outrider. And that's what we're basically, it details out what we're going to do in that maintenance call. And so your standard level and your advanced level. And what we're going to do for the podcast listeners today is that when you hear the podcast and you want to contact us and learn more, if you mention to us that you're ready to ride into comfort, we'll give you 10% discount on the first year maintenance program on either plan. It doesn't matter which one. We'll give you a 10% discount, and let's get ready together. We'll saddle up and we'll take care of it.
I'm gonna be one of the first ones to go, because I want to ride into comfort.
We're ready to saddle up.
I really do. I think we're coming up on 3 years on the house, and I think it's time for us to get some
maintenance. That regular maintenance.
Yeah, so I'm sure I'll be giving you guys a call to come out and take a visit and do that for us. Yeah, we really appreciate you guys being here. We want to thank Westerly Air for taking our time to be here today, especially Booth. I know you're a busy guy. I know you got a lot of things going on. You're everywhere. And
I drive a lot.
And unfortunately, David and Christina couldn't be here, but they're really great people. They're really great owners. I had an opportunity to meet with them.
Mm-hmm.
Christina's just a sweetheart.
Oh yeah.
David's just a great guy, a scary guy, but
he's a big guy. He's a teddy bear. I didn't tell him. Don't do that.
Don't let that intimidate you guys. He's a great guy. So
no, he's good.
But yeah, that was Booth. We appreciate you, San Antonio native. Again, guys, if you guys need any AC, HVAC stuff going on, summertime is here. It's extremely hot. There's no other place that you want to call than a locally family-owned business. Especially with the experience that you have and the knowledge that you have. Booth himself is a great guy, very knowledgeable. He'll go out, and again, no high pressure, nothing like that. Just wants to educate you guys, make you make an educated decision. Someone who reminds us that, the people behind the toolbox often have the best stories. Big thanks for Westerly Air for lending us one of their top guys, which is Booth.
Thank you.
And if you're in Texas, anywhere in the Bexar County or any surrounding counties, these guys will go out and take care of you guys, especially in the Hill Country as well. And of course, if you need someone to come on and talk to you that's local, honest, here to help, hit them up. Let's saddle up. Links will be in the description. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to subscribe. drop a comment. If you guys have questions about it, these guys will reach out to you guys, have any, get the answer that you need. Free estimates, right? We'll come out, come on, visit with you.
Yeah, when I talk about what I do, that's no charge to the customer.
So yeah, you'll have Booth come out and you get to meet this guy. He's a wonderful person. Until next time, the Mo Money Podcast.
All right.
Thanks, Booth. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
See y'all soon.
See you guys.